Good afternoon, everyone, and I welcome you all to this webinar on behalf of Red Lantern Analytica. I'd like to welcome with a brief introduction of Red Lantern. So, RLA is an international affairs observer group that is based out of New Delhi, India. It focuses on critical issues that are related to China, with a special focus on Sino India relations, issues of national security, international security, energy, and environment. The main aim of our organization is to draw in India's foremost academic institutions and security intelligentsia, corporate institutions, monetary establishments, and experts in discussion on India's foreign policy and extend the country's role in global issues. To maximize the institutional and scholarly capacity of strategic thinking in India, we are required to integrate expertise in our research in order to foster an even minded international strategy for India. This is a young organization that is in constant search for fresh ideas and thoughts in the strategic studies discourse. With this goal in mind, we have set ourselves up as an autonomous and a solitary international think tank. We are an intellectual startup functioning with a small number of individuals who are passionate about international affairs. So this session will be moderated by Arshay Bhardwaj, who is a research assistant in Red Lantern Analytica. I now request Arshay to take over the further session.
Good evening. Um, Greetings from Red Lantern Analytica. And in our webinar today, we are going to discuss about that whether Afghanistan has come to terms with Taliban, where the aim is to assess the acceptance, rejection of Taliban rule within the country and in international community. And we have with us today our prestigious guests and speakers. We have Roya Musawi, who's a photo journalist and also public communicator and writer. And she has also joined us before on the topic of journalism on our previous webinars. So we welcome you again. And we have with us Mr. Massoud Hossaini, who's a photojournalist from Afghan and is a Pulitzer winner and WPP winner also. So I would like to continue and just want to make sure that I'm audible and would like to check with Mr. Hossaini. Are we audible to you now?
Yes, I can hear you very well now. Do you
Oh,
hear me now too?
yes, we certainly can. So I would, first of all, I would like to start with Mr. Hossaini itself. Um, we all know that you belong to Afghan and from Kabul itself, and
Yeah,
you also
I belong to Afghanistan.
Afghanistan, yes, and we want to because photography. So when we talk about journalism, writing, and when we talk about photography, they both go hand in hand. So a picture tells a story, and the writer depicts what the situation is. So starting with you, I would like to understand what is the current situation, what is the changes, what are the changes that have taken place, because it's been 10 months of Afghanistan rule now, and Taliban rule now, and we know that delegates from all over the world, nations, slowly and steadily are coming and sending their delegates to Afghanistan, uh, talking in talking terms with Taliban. And Taliban claims that there is peace and security and calm that has been established, which I would like to put my main focus to. Let's say this time India had sent its technical team, and they have also reopened their consulate out there. So, wherein Taliban states that the security has been established is the reason why India has opened its consulate out there, and but India states that they want to continue their historical ties and civilizational relationship with the same. So what how do you see it? What are the changes, and has India come in terms with the Taliban's existence in Afghanistan?
Yes. First of all, let me say hello to everyone, especially my friend Roya John. I hope that everybody is happy and good. I'm so happy that I see Roya John, you're safe, and all other friends here that I can see their name, Afra, Abhishek, and everybody else. Um, uh, well, I am talking to you from Wellington, which is the night right now, and is a winter, and it's the first time that I come to the south. And it is difficult, to be honest, to change all this in my life. But why I start like this is because I'm telling you that it was really difficult for me to change all this because it was not secure to stay in Afghanistan for me. So for sure that there are a lot of problems going on right now in Afghanistan, and those people who were carrying the burden of the republic in their shoulders, they're all out. I'm out, Roya John is out, and everybody else are out. Why? Because it's not safe, right? It's not, possible actually for us to go back. I never wish to live outside of Afghanistan. I never wish to leave my own country, right? But why I cannot go back to Afghanistan? Because I know that if I go, I'll be dead, I'll be tortured, I'll be killed, right? So this comes from my own personal life, my own personal security that I'm talking to you. Well, for sure that whatever comes up in the news is related to the situation that the journalists are trying to tell the story, right? So those journalists who are outside of Afghanistan, definitely they can talk freely, and they mostly talk whatever is going on, but how they can get the information is also is another argument, right? And those who are in Afghanistan, definitely, I am a journalist. I covered war for 20 years in Afghanistan, and I perfectly know all people, most of those who were working in Afghanistan, that they go to Afghanistan as a really risky places, and they wanted to have this in their own, let's say, resume and CV that they were working in Afghanistan. So then, to stay in Afghanistan, they have to compromise with Taliban, right? And whatever the stories comes out from the foreigner journalists from Afghanistan are not all real. And because it's a lot different now compared to Abdul Rahman Khan, king who killed all the other ethnicities, is that right now in this era, in this time, we have social media, we have internet, we have Twitter, which sometimes work offline as well too, right? And the news which we know, and we have communication with people in Afghanistan, is coming right away to us, not to those foreign journalists or foreign agencies or other journalists who are not related to Afghanistan, right? So it directly come to us. And we see that, we see the videos, we can prove it because I covered Afghanistan for 20 years. And now I can tell you and I prove you that the situation in Afghanistan is the worst in security, human rights, economy, and civil society, and all history is the worst time that I remember in my 39 years old life that I had, right? So from the time that I remember that I was listening to the news, I was listening to, Afghanistan stories. I was reading the books. What I remember now is the worst time in all our history. I cannot compare this era, this time, this dark time to any era that I experienced in my life in 39 years of my age that I have, right? Um, Women are being killed, women are being lashed, women are being raped inside the jails, women are being raped by the nobody knows that where these fighters come from Pakistan, from Punjab, from where. They don't know. People do not even understand who are they, right? At the same time, students in the schools are being killed. We had this story like few days ago in Panjshir. A 17 years old student have been killed because he didn't know where the national resistance forces are, right? So at the same time, all the schools for the girls are closed down. We see all the time that the girls, the women bodies are in the river. The bodies of the women and young men and the oppositions and non-Pashtuns are in the streets. Nobody knows who killed them. Nobody knows what's going on. The international community do not recognize the Taliban. People of Afghanistan, who are the most important in this concept, they do not recognize Taliban. And because there is no any government in Afghanistan, nobody expect any responsibility. At the same time, when natural disasters comes up, like earthquake, nobody knows where the aids go. From 15th of August last year till now, $900 million is being transferred to Afghanistan as aid for all people, right? But what happened to that money? Nobody knows. At the same time, we have the Turkestan a leader of the, terrorist group who had a really tight, relationship with Al Qaeda, make a ceremony and celebration inside Mazar city. At the same time, Iman al-Zawahiri renew his bay'at or his promise to Taliban leader and congratulate Afghanistan. At the inside Tajikistan, nobody knows what's going on. But whatever the news comes up is horrible. A lot of hunger, a lot of people are jobless. The women employees are being fired from the government, and they've been asked that, okay, send your brother or your husband, otherwise nobody else can work here. All the teachers are being fired. As I told you, $900 million being transferred inside Afghanistan from 15th August last year, but till now, none of the government employees had their salary. None of the teachers, not boys teachers, not girls teachers, they didn't have their salary. None of the doctors in the hospitals, they didn't have their salary. Then what's going on, right? This what's going on question should be answered by those who brought up this Taliban to Afghanistan, should be answered by Khalilzad, should be answered by Ghani, who escaped and left everything and surrendered everything to Taliban, right? So that's the problem. If anybody says that what's going in Afghanistan right now, I'm doubt on it because nobody knows, right? And the news comes out is all full of like killing women, killing young people. There are fight inside Panjshir. We get a lot of videos. We get a lot of Taliban dead bodies, pictures and videos. The helicopter being shot down. There will be there is a fight in Andarab. There is fight in Baghlan, and newly there is fight between Hazara ethnic commander with Taliban in Balkhab, and they're all the country is fall apart. The country totally is falling apart, and it's exactly going back to the civil war in 90s that we had, right? Today, I had another report from Kabul that still I have people and friends and let's say loved ones in Afghanistan. They said the clashes between the national resistance forces is started inside Kabul. Although that Taliban really tried to abandon and lock down Khairkhana, which normally the residents are from originally from Panjshir, but still there are a lot of problems. The attacks, the suicide attacks against the Hazara community never ended. Still they are being killed. The Taliban soldier kills a female driver for fun, right? Nobody accept any responsibility. If you go to Kabul and if you walk in a street and somebody kills you, nobody get responsibility, right? So what's going on? This is the question that I can't find the answer for it.
It's I from all things that you have shared with us, we are thankful, and it's of course it's very upsetting when you are not in your own country, and it's very difficult, like staying so far, and then you have to see all this that's going on, and then not being sure about what's exactly happening, and there is no responsibility, there is no accountability. So we assess that with this, that there is first thing is the most basic an important thing in a country, any country, is its human rights. And when you say that there are killings everywhere, there's no responsibility, there's no accountability, there's no governance, is basically, the human rights are being deteriorated. There are no human rights, they do not exist.
Yeah,
And there has.
Yeah, and one thing that I forgot to tell you was the attack on the Sikh people like a week ago. I've been communicated with one of the a son of a leader in that community because I had a really close relationship with them, and because he grew up in Jalalabad, he knew Pashto really well. He told me that when the attack was going on the Dharamsal, what we call it in Afghanistan, he was close to the Taliban soldiers. And Taliban soldiers had a radio in their hand. And the Taliban leader back there was just calling to the soldiers and were telling them, okay, there is an attack on the Dharamsal, let the Dharamsal burn down, and then we go in, right? It means that everything, all the distraction and everything is going on against the minorities, Sikhs, Shias, or any other minorities that I don't want to name right now because of their own security. They are being, organized by the Taliban. We all had the all complicated and complex attacks against the minorities, against the Shia by Haqqani. And this Haqqani is getting the MOI with all documents and all secrets and all information about minorities, about their places, about their mosques, about the religious places and everything, right? So how is possible? I don't know that the same group who were attacking the minorities before, now that group has all access to all information about those minorities. They know their lives, area, they know their temples, they know their places, roads, everything, right? They know their shops, because it's all was registered inside the interior ministry, and they're attacking and they're being killed, right? I don't think that there is any Daesh in Afghanistan. Daesh is the same group of Haqqani. There is no change.
As you have mentioned, Mr. Masood, that there's no Daesh and it's all the same, and maybe all these groups are working together, because when we see it in the news, as you mentioned about the journalists who go from abroad and what they need on their resume, that they have worked in Afghanistan for long, and that they cannot, of course, that they cannot fully tell, and the true story cannot be told, and because you belong to Afghanistan, and other journalists who belong to Afghanistan, they will without fear, they will portray the truth. But it's difficult for people who are coming from abroad, because they would not compromise themselves. That's a little bit of selfishness that we see that happens. And we understand the situation right now, as you're telling us, as we assess from it, is that there is no governance. And what we read in news about Afghanistan talking about peace and security and calm within the region is totally false, because it doesn't seem so when you share with us all these stories that you come across. Thank you so much. I would now like to move to Ms. Roya Musawi, and I would like to take up the question with her. Ma'am, we welcome you again. You were there before with us on one of our webinars where we did discuss about journalists going through a lot. And you also shared with us the real-time stories. And today I would want to know that the UN has been reporting that Taliban is giving refuge to international terror. As also we have discussed with Mr. Massoud, he says that it's all mixed up. All these terror groups are working together, and probably nobody wants to take this responsibility and accountability, and all the groups are trying to save their own selves. So, do you think, or do you agree with us that there is no global pressure on Taliban right now? Like UN reports that Taliban is, giving refuge to international terror, which is happening, and there are a lot of killings, and the humanitarian aid, nobody knows where it's going. So, do we see that there is no global pressure on Taliban right now? What do you have to say about it?
Hello, everyone. It's nice to meet you, Massoud Jan, after a long time, and thanks for having me in this webinar. I want to pressure that right now Taliban government, it has not a legal framework. It has not been recognized by any government. But we shouldn't forget that when the Taliban took over Afghanistan, we have seen that Russia, China, they had already their embassies in Kabul, and they have been active since now. And recently that India has started their delegation and their mission in Afghanistan, it shows that they, from my point of view, they want to manage the things that they are going on there. And the matter, it's important for them, the people, not the Taliban government. And we have seen in recent months, after the Taliban took over, that many platforms, international platforms, have given the mic for them. For instance, we have seen that the Taliban have participated in a meeting in Norway, in Oslo. What was the goal of and what was the impact of these conference that they have given the tribune for the Taliban? It's a kind of showing that they give the platforms and tribunes at an international level. And the other part that we have been seeing that the Taliban, there is a big gap between the Taliban leadership and low-level fighters, and also between the commanders. Right now, we have during this week, we have seen that the Taliban have been fighting with one of the Hazara commander, Maulawi Mahdi, in the northern part of Afghanistan, and there were many claims that in the earthquake in the southern eastern part of Afghanistan, the helicopters, and instead of rescuing the people that they were affected, they send the helicopters for fighting to their local commanders that now he is opposed to the government. And today I have seen a report in BBC that this commander, that why he is against the Taliban government is torture of the Taliban against Jafari fiqh, and we already see that the Taliban, they have their own problems, and this problem is not new between the commanders or the low-level leaders that we have seen. It has been since the beginning of their takeover as well, and when they ruled the country, there was a big challenge between the Haqqani and the other group that it was inside the Taliban, and even they have fought regarding the possessions, and it shows that how they are not I mean that they are not regulated, and they are not how we can in this situation, how we can expect them that they rule a country when they have their own challenges. And the other thing that I have seen, there is no equal distribution of power in the Taliban. It's all of the power captured by a specific group, and they do whatever they want, and they are looking for international recognition for their power. But we have been seeing that there is obvious human rights violation, women's rights violation. Women are not allowed to go to school after secondary school, and the women, they ordered burqa for women, which is not acceptable. And it's not in Islam that we should hide our faces. This is what they call their government, and they have their own definition from the Islam and from religion that they have. And there is obvious censorship against freedom of speech as well. Massoud mentioned a very well point regarding the foreign media, that the journalists that they are going, most of them are freelancers, that they are working on the ground. And the Afghan journalists, they are not able to report whatever is going on, because they will be tortured, they will be detained. And we have seen recently that many journalists has been detained, tortured, and kidnapped for days. No one had any information about them. Regarding rising the violation against minorities, it's we have been seeing that many mosques in Shia communities in Kandahar has been targeted, and Qunduz, in different parts of Afghanistan. Also, the Sikh community. It's visible that the Taliban is not able to maintain the security of the people. And returning the former official of Afghanistan, they are not the ones that they were transparent people that they returned to the government. And Taliban has created a commission for them that these people should be returned, and we are welcoming them. But who returned? We have seen most of them were the corrupt people that they have returned. It shows that Taliban welcome the corrupt people in their government that they call it government, but it has no legal framework. Climate change and natural disaster. We have seen in these Afghanistan is one of the countries that has been affected from huge poverty, dire humanitarian situation, and the economy totally collapsed. And we have been witnessing that Afghanistan is an aid-dependent country, because we have been dealing with 40 years of war, and recent earthquakes showed that Taliban is not able to help the people because they are not professional ones. We have seen that a fighter who has been fighting for 20 years, how he could be a professional person to rescue, or how he could be a doctor. And now they banned the girls' education, and it's a totally, right now, Afghanistan community, it's now a totally male-dominated community, and they do whatever they want. They put whatever they want in action, and people in Afghanistan, they are like detainees in a government, detainees of the Taliban, and they cannot do anything. They don't have individual freedoms like the Taliban ordered men should let their beards grow. It's a very personal issue, but the Taliban ordered, and even they have a team this team called I don't know exactly the name. They check the hotels, the restaurants, the offices as well. Even the offices, the different offices, governmental offices and organizations offices, for making sure how the women and men, they have hijab, they have beards or no. While it's obvious violation against humans' freedom, that you should monitor whatever personal behavior they have. They don't have freedom. They don't have, and all the people in Afghanistan, they cannot do anything because there is a huge poverty. Many people lost their jobs, and the economy is collapsing. This is the real situation. If the situation continues like this, I'm not optimistic about Afghanistan's people future, because we have been seeing that there is fighting in the northern part of Afghanistan with the national resistance, and it's many people has been tortured in Kabul as well by the name of a specific group that, for example, you have been from a specific group, and most of the former army as well, they have been tortured by the Taliban by the name of Daesh member. Who knows that who identified that they are Daesh? And is it okay that we have Daesh in Afghanistan? Who can prove it? It's things are very complicated there, but it's only the people of Afghanistan that who pay the high price of this situation, the natural disaster, dire humanitarian situation, poverty, economic collapse. It's only the people who are affected. We have seen that these former officials, they returned because they were corrupt. They were financially corrupted people, and they had their own benefits from the former government as well. By the name of, for instance, one of the ministers. It was the reports, that investigative reports, that showed that this guy has gotten 70% of budget of Ministry of Education, and now he is returned, and he is with the Taliban there. Things are very complicated there, but it's only the people who are affecting. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ms. Roya, ma'am. So, as we, as I have, and as we understand by the discussion that we are having, and what I analyzed through this is that there is there is no optimism that we see right now, and things are so complicated that we cannot even make out the actual ground level situation when it comes to, because we in India and then other parts of the countries, they just know that there is a war going on, and there is delegations going on, there are meetings going on, and maybe there is something positive going on amidst the Ukrainian war, side by side, because there are so many things altogether have, all over the world, there are different problems in terms of climate, in terms of terrorism, when we talk about Afghanistan, in terms of, diseases. So all these things are definitely economically and socially affecting Afghanistan the most. And plus, as Sir mentioned, that the humanitarian aid is actually not even reaching the people, because there would have been at least a slight change if there was little bit of improvement taking place, or the aid was actually being into use, but it's not in use, and people are using it, which is not actually the government, but the terrorist itself and the people there internally are using all those funds for their own personal use, as you talk about the educational budget, and how what they are doing with it and where they are spending it and what ties they are creating further. Also, as you also mentioned about the minorities who are, of course, vulnerable when it comes to, and women, when it just becomes vulnerable to women and minorities and artists and the fourth pillar of democracy, which is in India, as you know, in India, is photojournalism and journalism, overall media, basically, which basically tells and makes people aware. So as we see this, there was also news that the Sikh community is being forced to convert into Islam. I do not know if that's true, but there was news that they are either they need to they will kill them, or they need to convert into Islam if they want to stay here. So we see that there is no people's voice. There's no privacy, as you mentioned, that all these people, unidentified terrorists only, as I would call them, because when there is no identification and they just barge inside and they take away the privacy and to check whether the rules that are uh, established by so-called Taliban in the name of Sharia law. So it's very upsetting. I mean, I can literally imagine when you talk and when you both share the stories about what is available to you, all the information that you're sharing with us. It's difficult to understand what is the way out, which makes me ask you, and I would also like to ask Mr. Massoud the same question. So I would like you to answer this first, and then we can move to Mr. Massoud. So the question is that the US official, they state that talking is the only way forward. I am I'm paying a little more attention to only way forward here. So we have this acting representative of the UN mission of Afghanistan, Alec Barov, who states that talking to Taliban is the only way forward. So what do you have to say? Is there any way? Is there any positive talk? I mean, what does he mean when he says that? How do you perceive it when they say that the only way to move forward is to talk to Taliban? Is it making any changes, or is it any helpful? Yeah.
First of all, regarding the humanitarian aids, I want to mention that the only way that humanitarian aids should reach to the needy people is international organizations on the ground, because they are the reliable sources that they assess and identify. Even if they assess the people and they don't ask any assistance from the Taliban, that would be a transparent way that the aids reach to the needy people. And regarding the United Nations mission in Afghanistan, every attack happens, they only say we are sorry for that. We don't, the families, the victims' families don't need their press releases. They need actions, and the actions, how the actions that they are saying that we believe in talkings. We have seen in the peace negotiations what was the impact and what was the result. The result has been ruling the Taliban over Afghanistan, and I'm not sure what do they mean by positive talks, because we have seen recent talks in Oslo, Norway, with the Taliban leader. What was the result? No one has had any result from this conference, and I'm not sure what other conferences had the result. The most important thing is the people of Afghanistan, that they are affecting on daily basis. On every single day, they are affecting. And we need to have a proper strategy to put in action for saving these people from a terrorist group that they are ruling the country. It's obvious that the Taliban has been killing hundreds of thousands of people in the last 20 years. And at the end, they rule over the country. And after I don't know what are the talkings and how the reason how and what will be the result of these talkings. I'm not optimistic, unfortunately.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I'd like to put up the same question to Mr. Massoud sir, that as the acting representative of the UN mission to Afghanistan, Alec Barov states, only way forward is talking to Taliban. I want your opinion, or I would like your comment on it. What do you have to say? How do you see this?
Yes, well, we have to see also this disaster actually from two points of views. First of all, the Western countries who left a lot of weapons to irresponsible government of Ghani, and that now those weapons are in the hand of Taliban. Taliban are using those weapons, killing people in Panjshir, Balkhab, Baghlan, and Darab, and some other places, right? So this responsibility goes back directly to the Western and NATO members in the Europe, right? Because they have left all this weapon inside Afghanistan. And then I'm gonna say one news and then go ahead to say that what's going on. Few days ago, we heard that CENTCOM in the US asked the Tajikistan government that do not hand over the jets, the mini jets that was being, donated by India, and helicopters and some other military weapons back to Afghanistan. So at the same time, we have this UN mission, which UN have to tell all the time that UN job is to talk, to negotiate, to bring people close, right? But what I understand that is this is kind of buying the time, right? Um, Afghanistan is falling apart. Afghanistan already is being separated, is being federative. Already, um, um, uh, there is no any sense of nation. There is no any sense of a country with border. There is no border between Afghanistan and Pakistan, right? So it's gone. The country is gone, right? So right now is only, that's why, the we have to talk about this, that no country, even Pakistan, do not want to recognize Taliban because the country is gone. Everybody knows that. The country is fall apart completely. And the war will be more. If Russia or China sometimes saying something about recognizing the Taliban is only the game, and they're using this kind of like a pressure on the US or Western countries that, okay, this is what we want to do and this is what we will do. But they cannot, because as I told you, it's not possible. Taliban is only a terrorist group, is a group who killed only in these 20 years more than 200,000 people. Nobody can, recognize this. Nobody can even kind of like accept their, people as the official representative of Afghanistan. It's not possible, right? And at the same time, we see that the war is going on. So what the Western countries and what the UN is doing is buying the time. They just want to buy the time and put more pressure on the Taliban. The pressure coming naturally on Afghanistan. We see that, right? There are a lot of dry out or femininity, right? There are a lot of earthquake. There were fire on only 1% forest that we had. And from this 1% forest that we had, 90% of that is completely ashes now, right? And Taliban could not stop the fire. At the same time, in the first week of summer, we have snow, right? So these are all pressure on Taliban, right? And everybody from the UN and Western countries know this. At the same time, the interclashes is going on. Today, there were several districts which was being liberated by a Tajik and Badakhshi commander in Badakhshan, which he was completely angry with the Taliban leader, and today he said that I'm independent from the Taliban, right? So the country is going to a total collapse and a chaos. So what will happen is just need time. Everybody needs time, right? The weapon will be finished, right? The Taliban are not, they do not have economy to recharge the war machine that they got it from the NATO countries. There is no fuel. There is no bullets. When I was in Afghanistan last year, in this time that I'm talking to you last year, the bullets were ran out, right? And the money are frozen in the World Bank, right? So, and the airplane, the mini jet fighters and plane, helicopters are in Tajikistan, right? So all this is, and buying the time by the UN and the Western countries is showing that everybody is waiting that Taliban losing whatever they have. And whatever that Taliban has, when they lose it, country will go to a total collapse, will go to a total chaos. Still, the evacuation process are going on. Germany will evacuate more than 20,000 in the next month. US is evacuating people from Afghanistan. Canada, France, Italy, Australia, New Zealand, everybody is evacuating people still now. Why? Because they know that a lot of disasters will come. They know that the country will collapse totally, right? And they're ready for it, right? They're trying to be ready for it. And in the end, the country will be separated. Definitely will be separated. This time, nobody have any passion to go on with it. Do you think that the Russia has that means and like money and the ability to, keep Afghanistan or to charge Afghanistan as a country? No. Do you think China will do it? No. Do you think India can do it? No. Afghanistan is not possible to keep anymore as a country. So those who are going back to Afghanistan, like some of the Indian diplomats or some of the Russian diplomats or some of the European diplomats, they are just going to observe the situation, not to make communication with the Taliban, not to talk or not to negotiate with the Taliban to recognize them. It's not possible. As I told you, one group is none of the countries in the world They do not want to recognize a dictatorship worse than Iran, worse than North Korea, right? And what is going on right now is that they're just buying the time. And well, I'm not the intelligence services to know, to understand what they say, but I guess as a political science graduate and a journalist, I can tell you that they're just waiting for a time. They're just buying the time. They know that a lot of pressure are coming on Taliban. Taliban tried to escape from the responsibilities, but it's not possible. You see that there are a lot of wars. There are the medicine is going to be finished in Afghanistan. The warehouse, the food warehouse are being finished. The Ukraine war and Russia war making a disaster, is a big chaos for the food, right? And Afghanistan was 80%, dependent on the foreign countries. And whenever the food that we had in Afghanistan is going to finish, then Taliban have to need for Westerners and for the world.
Thank you so much, sir, for the insights. Before I go forth with the conclusion and the thank you note, I would like to ask our people who have joined us, is there anybody who would like to ask or raise any question or um, anything regarding the topic? The questions are welcomed. So in case there are no questions, I would like to draw a collaborative conclusion. We do have a question.
There is one question in a chat room.
Yes. How can the Afghanistan problem be resolved is one of the questions that has been put up by Mr. Siddhartha Ghosh.
This is the question that if there is any God existed anywhere should come and answer that actually. Sorry to say that, but it's not easy. As I told you, it's not easy. That I say that what is the resolution or what is the solution for Afghanistan is not possible, right? The Western community won't come back to fund Afghanistan again, right? And Afghanistan has two only, way ahead. Go to the total human disaster, which will started in the end of this summer in Afghanistan, right? I'm in my winter actually here in New Zealand, but in 3 months, right? They dry out the foods and everything will go down, right? And the food that we had for Afghanistan during the NATO and international community were there will be down, will be gone, right? Then the main problem, the main human disaster will be started in the end of this summer, right? And the war is going on at the same time, and if you kind of know about the nature of the war and about the origin of the war take a lot of energy from the society, right? So at the same time that the international community do not send any food assistance like before, there is no budget, there is no law, there is no law order, there is no any export import laws, because the country is completely collapsed. So the pressure, the disaster will come and will grow more, right? And this is what the international community want. Here will make the Taliban have to kneel against the world and against the international community and against the West. This is what the West wants right now, right? So that's what that they're buying the time, right? Who, as I told you, any country who says that we are thinking to recognize the Taliban, they are also buying the time. Nobody can do that, right? It's not possible. What will happen is that the country will collapse totally, right? And if I say this as a solution, which the Afghanistan diaspora and those people who have been evacuated and escaped, and in this 10 months, who were the brain of Afghanistan, right now they're talking about separation, about 4 different states based on nationality and based on their own national culture, national army. Every nationality should rise an army and make the border and start making a government and a system. This is the only way we can kind of like prevent the whole region to be collapsed in this war. Otherwise, this war will go to a really, really, really huge human disaster that maybe is the number 1 in the history of the humanity again, right? So at the same time, you know that Pakistan and Iran, they from the first time in 90s, they know how to close their border and do not let the refugees to go to these countries. Right now, you can see that they are just, kind of send them back to Afghanistan. So this human disaster, which is coming right now, and the wars, which is going on right now, will take all energy and all ability of the Taliban, and in the end of the next summer, in Afghanistan, then a lot of other problems and other disasters will show their face, right? That time will be a time that we can say we will understand which kind of solution will comes up, right? For now, the time is only to buy the time and spend all the food and all energy and all weapons that Taliban has. Because nobody can recharge Taliban. Nobody can recharge Afghanistan economy. That's why that whatever the aids go is going directly to the Taliban terrorists, and they are recharging the front lines because they do not have any other resources, right? And today, which I didn't follow up, but I just said as a news, Gulbuddin Hekmatyar also said that there is a big problem between new government of Islamabad and Taliban, because Imran Khan was supporting Taliban. This new prime minister does not, because this new prime minister of Pakistan was kind of pushed by the Westerners to get the power, right? So it will be another kind of focused on Afghanistan again, right? And then probably in the end of this summer in Afghanistan, we would understand that, okay, what we can say for solution, right? Right now, unfortunately, people will die because of hunger, because of earthquake, because of flood, because of snow, because of I mean a lot of other natural disasters. So we have to wait, I think.
Thank you so much, sir. I would also like to ask Musawi ma'am if you have an opinion about the question that was asked by Mr. Siddhartha. Do you have an opinion or would you like to comment on it?
Thank you very much. Massoud explained it very comprehensively. I don't have anything to add. We have a long way ahead, and again, I want to stress that it's only people who pay the high price. It's only the people who are under the violation of the Taliban. That's it. Thank you.
So, what we have comprehensively understood about the current situation in Afghanistan, what I personally feel and what we can analyze is that uh, since we were trying to assess the situation, so there are no changes. It's just vulnerable for the people out there, and in terms of the international community, people, the government from different countries, nations sending their delegates is to observe the ground level situation, because of course the stories that we see told by the foreign journalists are not entirely true, as mentioned by Mr. Massoud. And and we understand that the economic pressure is the pressure on the Taliban is certainly there, as they are going out of resources, and for which the transparency of human aid is required, as mentioned by Roya Musawi ma'am, that there has to be transparency and the direct reach through the international organization. It has to be direct in the hands of the people instead of mediation uh, by giving the funds or aid to Taliban, who states that they are governing the country, wherein they do not even take the responsibility. And it seems that there is definitely a way out, but talking is not one of them. Definitely, there will be a big storm, and there is more to come. Sadly, there will be more vulnerability, and people will suffer. Mostly the artists, mostly the journalists, and women and children, and there will be more killings, as we can. I feel that the situation as we have assessed, and but maybe we have to remain optimistic, and the country has to rise again for itself. And I hope that the international community, including India and other nations, and I'd also say that UN would not just do the talking, but also play an important role, is when we will get to know that UN is actually working for the people of Afghanistan, and not, bringing out for their working for their own self-interest. When the time comes, they will actually help Afghanistan rise again, because we do want to see Afghanistan there as a country with basic human rights, freedom, and women, and them also to build their dreams up again, because Afghanistan has actually been into war, and the people have actually gone through a lot. So it has to be done, and there has to be a strategy, as mentioned by ma'am, a proper strategy. Maybe international community is, as we hope here sitting today and discussing, that they are trying to build up something, and they are ready for the worst that is yet to come, because this is not the worst. I would further thank you all on behalf of Red Lantern Analytica. I would thank the speakers for joining us. I would thank all members, all the people who joined in the session. I would like to thank and providing us such a deep perspective on Afghanistan current situation, and assessing what's currently going on. Afghanistan currently is misplaced and is not being discussed, because of course there are there is a war going on, and there is a pandemic, and we totally understand that Afghanistan is in the vulnerable position right now, and it has to be, it has to go forward, and people need to understand that Afghanistan still exists, and there's a crisis and people are going through it. And it has been an honor for us to have such distinguished visitors, And we would like you to join us again time to time to understand, so that we can, tell people out there that what is the current situation, and hoping for much more interactions in future. I would like to thank everybody, and I would also like to thank Abhishek Ranjan, who is the director of Red Lantern Analytica. It has been a great time for us associates and all the research associates joining with you, and having taken all those insights and analyze the political, social, and even the best part is that you have also mentioned comprehensively how the climate uh, problem that is existent for the world is most affecting Afghanistan currently. So I'd like to take off, and I would like to thank you again. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having us.
Goodbye all.
Goodbye. Take care. Bye.